Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another, hopefully thrilling, Minecraft episode on this beautiful, fantabulous day. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm speaking with you now from northern Vermont. I just have to tell you that whenever you end up listening to this right now, summer's just barely kicked off here, and in northern Vermont, it's short and sweet for sure. We get a little bit of sun, and we are probably some of the biggest appreciators of the sun because we are a cloud. We're in a cloudy area, and it's a beautiful sunny bluebird day today. A great day to talk about the topic of win. What's important now? WIN. What's important now? And so this is a little bit of a continuation. I'm on a Greg McGowan kick right now, author of Essentialism: The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. And I'm a big fan, obviously, of our life minutes. I talk about how valuable and precious the most valuable and precious commodity we have is our time, right? Our life minutes. And so this what's important now gels with sort of the mindfulness campaign, the life minutes, the appreciating your life minutes campaign that I've been on for years. And so Greg McCowan talks about focus here, focus. And Thich Nhat Hanh, a monk who I believe has since passed, I think. I've listened to him quite a bit on YouTube. He is just absolutely amazing. I mean, his words just feed my spirit. And Greg starts out his focus chapter like this, with Thich Nhat Hanh saying, "Life is available only in the present moment. If you abandon the present moment, you cannot live the moments of your daily life deeply." So this topic just has me over the top excited to talk with you about today, and it brings in all the everything we've talked about with John Kabat-Zinn. Um, talks about wherever you go, there you are. That's one of his books. It all just kind of the great thinkers really are saying a lot of the same or similar things, just in different ways. And so Greg starts out by saying Larry Gelwicks coached the Highland High School rugby team to 418 wins with only 10 losses and 20 national championships over 36 years. He describes his success this way: "We always win." With a record like Highlands, he has the right to make the statement, but he is actually referring to something more than his winning record. When he says win, he is also referring to a single question with its apt acronym, what guides what he expects from his players. What's important now? I mean, this is just such a good example that we can use it. Like, you're talking about, I don't know, this high school or college sports. I forget if it said that, but it doesn't really make a difference when we can ask that throughout our day, because essentialism, and I am an essentialist in progress. As mentioned in the last one, I'm like a white belt with my maybe one blue stripe, but I'm committed to it. I'm absolutely committed to it, especially at a fabulous 58. It gets easier to simplify, actually. Even though I have a very um, uh, a lot going on with family and my calling. I like to say my calling because it's more than a career. I love what I do. And that said, I still really focus on what's important now. So that's about being in this moment, being present, actively engaged in our life minutes right here, right now. And so then Greg continues talking about this story. He says, by keeping his players, this is Larry Gelwicks's players, by keeping his players fully present in the moment and fully focused on what is most important, not on next week's match or tomorrow's practice or the next play, but now, Gelwicks. I'm going to go with Gelwicks. Gelwicks helps make winning almost effortless. But how? And then he says, first, the players apply the question constantly throughout the game. Instead of getting caught up rehashing the last play that went wrong or spending their mental energy worrying about whether they're going to lose the game, neither of which is helpful or constructive, Larry encourages them to focus only on the play they are in right now. This is such a brilliant example. I know for me, with I've thankfully, 'cause I'm so extrovert, I love people, and I've kind of I guess I've been attracted to the job, and the job's attracted me, calling, because I like that there's so much buzz all day long. Just, I'm surrounded by very good people. Occasional prickly, you'll have that, but not very often. So there's just lots of back and forth. I have lots of interactions all day, and so this is a practice I kind of constantly work on. I'm aware of it, so I'm constantly okay with the 95 things that just came across my computer or in person in the hallway or whatever. It can be all too easy to get sucked in to that talking about something that's 2 months away, and sometimes you have to, if we're in June, and orientation for college isn't until August. Well, it takes a lot of planning. That doesn't just happen at the last minute. So we're not talking about some stuff has to be planned, though in reality, there's a lot of things we just don't need to reside in the past. We don't need to reside there for sure. We don't need to reside in the past or to reside in the future. And the essentialist resides in this moment right now. In this moment right now. So this brings up the second question, which is what's important now that Larry says to his players, this question helps them stay focused on how they are playing, as in this moment. Larry believes a huge part of winning is determined by whether the players are focused on their own game or on their opponent's game. I like that because how often do we watch football or whatever, and that's such a big focus on what that last play, what they did, instead of focusing on your own game. And so Larry says if the players start thinking about the other team, they lose focus. Consciously or not, they start wanting to play the way the other team is playing. They get distracted and divided. By focusing on their game in the here and now, they can all unite around a single strategy. This level of unity makes execution of their game relatively frictionless. Now, if you remember from the last episode, we were talking about the sort of the genius of having the right routine and rehearsing with the visual and practice, 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 practice. I would say that this rolls in here because there is a tremendous focus on what you are doing rather than what the other person or people are doing. So then Greg continues, says, indeed, Larry has a fundamental essentialist approach to winning and losing. As he tells his players, there is a difference between losing and being beaten. When I read this earlier, I'm like, oh my God, that totally was like an aha moment for me right there. Being beaten means they are better than you. And you'll have that in life, right? I like to say there's always a bigger fish. A colleague of mine has that cartoon on his door. It's kind of a good reminder. Sometimes somebody's just better. And then kudos to you, congrats. Um, he said, being beaten means they are better than you. They are faster, stronger, and more talented. To Larry, losing means something else. It means you lost focus. I love this. It means you didn't concentrate on what was essential. It means you didn't concentrate on what is essential. And I love any discussion that has to do with the power of now. And I say that just as a sentence, but that's also a book by Eckhart Tolle. I really also a fan of him. But and this new essentialist track that I am on, I like when Greg kind of makes these little columns and explains how non-essentialism and essentialism are so different. I mean, he talks about the non-essentialist. Sorry, the mind is spinning out about the past or the future, versus, excuse me, the essentialist, who is focused on the present, like we keep talking about. The essentialist is actively engaged in his or her their life. The non-essentialist thinks about what was important yesterday or tomorrow, whereas the essentialist tunes into what is important right now. What is important right now? And lastly, the non essentialist worries about the future or stresses about the past. And I know when I talk to my Minecrafters about worrying is actually rehearsing being anxious. So, we were talking about Michael Phelps in the last episode. I think of like the Olympian and how they stand on the little tri stair kind of thing, that, the steps, and the gold medalist goes on top and the silver on one side and the bronze on the other side. If you want to be an Olympic gold medalist warrior, You can do it because whatever we practice or rehearse, we get really, really good at. Just like swimming and winning, the medal, or skiing, or playing the piano, or cooking, or whatever. Wherever we place our focus is where our energy goes. Wherever our energy goes is what will be successful. So if we want to put our energy into, worrying about the future or ruminating about the past, we're going to become gold medal winning ruminators and perseverators. And that's just how it goes. Where is the flip side is that of that one is the essentialist enjoys the moment. So Greg says that it is all based on a simple but powerful idea. To operate at your highest level of contribution requires that you deliberately tune in to what is important in the here and now. And I do think it's important to stop and reflect here, to really think about what percentage of your day, if we turn into like a positive frame, what percentage of your day are you truly present on an average day? You're actually in this moment, actively engaged in your life, versus how many life minutes, or what percentage of your life minutes do you spend worrying each day? Or what percentage of your life minutes do you spend ruminating? That would be all the woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? And really think about this, because literally, if we drew a circle on a whiteboard, just picture the circle like a pizza, right? And cut the slices, and let's double cut them, right? I used to do that when the kids were little, so there's less waste. So instead of typical 8 pieces or 16, and it did work for less waste, by the way, parents who are listening. So 16 slices. So you give one skinny little slice on the way into work because you're ruminating about something you screwed up at work that was 3 weeks ago. You give up another slice to wonder if you have enough retirement money. You give up, and what's the age, whatever your life stage is. You give up a slice to um, it's senior year is coming and you're worrying about graduating and getting a job and all that, or you're out and you're worrying about your interview. I mean, all you can do is walk in the interview and do the best you can. You can prepare for it by looking up the company or whatever it is you're trying to do, but worrying about it is just pretend like life minutes are, dollar bills or $20 bills, $100 bills, like I give out in my Minecraft class from Amazon, these big gigantic fake $1 million bills, and light a match to it. Have a visual of that, because that's what you're in essence doing. And so every second we spend worrying about and thinking about the past or future, our life minutes we're taking away from now. So we're therefore, because we talked about it, wherever we put our focus is where the energy goes. So if we're focusing on the past or future, one of which is over, one of which is not yet come yet, that energy is like being placed into, like, I turn it like space or something. It just it doesn't exist. And that takes away from the success of the now, because that energy is literally being ripped up and thrown away, or burned, or let go into space like a helium balloon or whatever. Um so it's super important to know, because it takes away from the here and now. So then Greg goes into talking about the two different kinds of time, which is so cool. He said the ancient Greeks had two words for time. The first was chronos, the second was kairos. The Greek god Kronos was imagined as an elderly, gray haired man, and his name connotes the literal ticking clock, the chronological time, the kind we measure and race about trying to use efficiently. Okay. Now, the next one, I just thought this was so cool. I'm digging this book, I have to tell you. I can't wait for Effortless. That's the next one. Okay, so then he says Kairos. Okay, we have Chronos, the old man image. Kairos is different. While it's difficult to translate precisely, it refers to time that is opportune, right, different. Chronos is quantitative, kairos is qualitative. The latter is experienced only when we are fully in the moment, when we exist in the now. Okay, so this is what we were trying to talk about, is kairos is really being fully actively engaged in your life. It's about the quality of our life experience on this planet. And like John Kabat-Zinn says, and also has a book entitled that, wherever you go, there you are. I mean, that's so simple, right? Yet so profound. Wherever we go, wherever our mind goes, that's where you are. So if you're dipping into the past and a super unpleasant experience, your mind is reliving that, literally, chronologically speaking. I meant to say in reality, is I don't know where I got that from. I think from the book, Chronos. So if you dip into the past, your brain sinks into that memory. The attached emotion that accompanies the memory you are now bringing forth from last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, you're experiencing that in the moment now, and the memory isn't even accurate, fully accurate. So we have that. So and if we're in the future, which doesn't even exist yet, we're bringing all that tenseness, all that tightness in the chest area, the sweaty palms, all and maybe a headache, all the other, lovely things that anxiety brings into the moment, corrupting this present moment like battery acid, like just dumping battery acid and ruining this moment. It just doesn't make any logical sense. Okay, so when Greg talks about Kairos only being experienced when we are fully in the moment, when we exist in the now, he said it is mind bending to consider that in practical terms we only ever have the now. Think about that. We only have now. We can't control the future in a literal sense, just the now. Of course, we learn from the past and can imagine the future, yet only in the here and now can we actually execute on the things that really matter. Non essentialists tend to be so preoccupied with past successes and failures, as well as future challenges and opportunities, that they miss the present moment. They become distracted, unfocused, they aren't really there. And, I have to chime in with the cognitive psychology background here, too. Memory wise, I don't know if people realize because there is no bigger thief than autopilot in the world. I mean, when we zone out and just like let our mind to go wherever, it's just because the only experiences that are going to make it, neurologically speaking, going to make it onto the bookshelves of long-term memory are those experiences that we attenuate to, kind of a sexy word for pay attention. Only what we pay attention to are we going to keep in our long-term memory on the bookshelves, potentially forever, because contrary to what we used to think with cognitive decline, we don't have to decline cognitively as we age if we do certain things. Now, obviously, we can't control for genetics and early onset, Alzheimer's and things like that, but we can stave off a lot of it. We can prevent it, and we can actually um, grow, change, and excel as we age. And where we place our energy has a lot to do with this. It's all about stimulate, 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 learning new things, and being actively engaged in the present moment. Alrighty, so then Greg winds it up well here with the way of the essentialist is to tune into the present. We can't say that enough. To experience life in Kairos, not just Chronos. To focus on the things that are truly important, not yesterday or tomorrow, but right now. So remember the acronym WIN. What's important now? And I think we can pretty much ask ourselves that all day long, and it would be okay. And we, in the end, minutes add up to hours, add up to days, add up to weeks, then months, then years, and that's our life. So we want to spend those life minutes as if they were cash, not let them go up in a flame. Awesome. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.